So guys, we're gonna try this again from inside the house. So hopefully at least the internet here will work since the other one crashed on us. So you're gonna get the weird inside of my house. So that's the way it goes. So I'm here, hoping to see you in a minute. Like crazy. So you're gonna get the weird camera view of me being in my chair. But hopefully this will work so we can actually have our show, and then we'll figure out between now and next week what's going on. Lovely. So I see a couple people found us again. Hopefully get you back. Technology. Looks like it's working though. Just have to wait for people to rediscover us. Got one like, so. Okay, guys, I'm gonna say hello. So I know you're really there. There's another one. Okay, good. Getting everybody back. Oh my! All I can say is technology. Not my usual comfy spot. Sandcat. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sandcat. Thank you for finding us. At least we have one person who's talking. Yay. Carolee says hello. Hi, Carolee. I know this is just not our usual setup, but there we go. Sort of what happens in the emergency situation. At least we had a backup plan. And more people are finding us. All right. Ian says, welcome to our channel. Yeah, that's cute. What is that supposed to be? Some kind of a Pac-Man yelling? That's pretty cute. People find the most amazing little things.
Yeah, it'd be nice to find routers that work the way they're supposed to.
Oh yeah, routers working the right way is a good thing. Gaga says hello. Hi, Gaga. Welcome to the weird inside of our house. We haven't had to do this in a while. And just like, ah. All right. Now we're ready to just get down to business. Distract us from our crazy internet issue.
I'm gonna go get the power cord for my computer right on that.
Alrighty. Sundrop says, hey everyone, glad you're back. You have an echo. Okay, if I have an echo, I'm not sure why. Oh, let's see. That one. Let me mute these things then. Okay. No, sound is going away. Sound is coming back. Grumpy Owl says hello. Violet says, hey guys, I heard you say yes, no, yes, no, yes. Hi everyone, can't hear anything. All right, we're gonna have to live with the echo. Why does it keep muting itself? Yes. Because I unmuted it and then it went away. Okay. Okay. Ah. Hello. Hope you all had a good week. Well, yeah. Now I'm back. Okay, we're not going to mess.
Well, now you're major echo.
Well, yeah, that's why I was messing with it, because I'm echoing.
That's crazy.
And if I get rid of one of those, everything goes away.
Can I see it for a second? Just hand me your computer for a second. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
Well, I said I had two things that had sound coming. I thought that would be a problem.
Yeah, but you've only got one microphone. Oh, test, test. No sound now. Test, test. It's showing it, but it's not. Oh, now it's working. There you go.
You fixed me?
Yes. Assuming I can close this.
Remember, you got to be over on the.
Yes, you got this.
I got that simple keyboard. Okay. All right. We're back. Okay. Hey. Ah. Well, that was kind of scary. All right. Ian says he's got it fixed. Gaka says it's all good now. Sandcat says, why is technology so hard? I don't know. I really don't. All right.
Just everybody pretend you didn't see my scowling face there as I worked on it.
Okay, now we're back. So Violet says hi. Carolee says laugh out loud. Okay. Cuckoo says hello. Hello, everyone. Hi, Cuckoo. Glad to see you participating. Beth says it's the weather. Is it the weather? I don't know. Maybe it's just us. I think it's just us.
Yeah, it seems to be just us this time. Yeah.
And Cuckoo says technology is hard because life is suffering. Yes, they don't want it to be easy for us. Oh well. Ah, Beth says I can't hear. Beth says she can't hear.
Oh, I just unplugged so I can't check the sound again. I just hooked my earbuds.
Well, if this keeps up, we're going to just give up today. I swear, it's a sign of some kind.
I can hear it okay.
Everyone else can hear,
Yeah.
so Beth, it's you. Sundrop says I hear. Carolee says I can.
I'll just leave my earbuds in case we have
Just in case.
further problems.
Okay. All right. So, what do we want to talk about, people? That says we're having storms here. Ah. Are you having like the thunderstorm potential tornadic activity? I know that there's a lot of that going on across the country. Every day, actually, in different places. Even my sister had a tornado over in Virginia. Sundrop says maybe she can turn up her volume. Who, me? Or Beth? I don't know. So what do we want to talk about today, guys? Besides the horrors of technology. Oh, I love computers when they work. When they don't, on the other hand, not so much. Better than it just completely cutting us off like it did before. I actually had a visitation last night. One of the wonderful smelling fairies dropped by when I went to bed. So that was kind of cool. Julia says, repeats my own greetings from my hospital rooms. Yes. And I'm so glad you could join us, Julia. And I'm so sorry that you're in the hospital and we've been sending you some energy. Sundrup says, I don't know why I find storms so relaxing as long as the power stays on. Kara says, I hate it too. Beth says, it's working on the TV, but not on my phone. I can see the comments on my phone. Oh, so you have to have multiple sources. Cuckoo says, yesterday I had an interesting situation sitting on a bench in the garden in front of the house where I usually offer incense to the spirits. Suddenly, the space around me began to sink into thick black. Interestingly, despite the night and the lack of sunlight, the walls of the house and the plants were visible. I realized I got to get my computer plugged back in before I lose it. But in slightly different colors, silvery gray. Then I felt someone hug me, and I felt incredible pleasure, peace, security, joy, and relaxation. That sounds wonderful. It sounds similar to what happened to me when the tree came in and connected with me. Beth says, I love storms. Jojo says, I love storms and watching them. Carolee says, technology. Beth says, yes, but it works. Having to use both, yes. Sandcat says, I love storms. I love the rain and fog. Cuckoo says, I realized that it was a figure resembling a black sheet blowing in the wind. The first association was death and then the reflection. How can one feel such incredible comfort in death's embrace? It was slightly stressing me out, and then the feeling of bliss subsided as the figure stepped back towards the porch and looked at me. I returned to the room, to the bed where I wanted to fall asleep, but then 3 small, fragile, delicate women appeared in my bed. Okay, Cuckoo, I'm sorry, but you're going to get banned if you keep that up. I'm not reading that out loud, and that's not allowed on our channel. Whether it's real or not doesn't matter. Sandcat says, sorry to hear yours and Ian's stalker is back. That's disturbing. Well, yeah, we don't want to talk about it, but definitely. Julia says, I so appreciate that. I wouldn't miss being here. Well, I'm so glad that, I'm sorry you're in the hospital, but I'm glad that you could join us. Beth says, what did I miss? One of the cats wanted to drink of water. What did I miss? Well, I don't know. I guess you'll have to figure that out.
Not much.
So you did hear what I said to Cuckoo, right?
I did.
Okay, just checking. So, yeah, I have a stalker, but oh well. These things happen. What else do we want to talk about? And Cat says, I totally understand, Beth. Our cats are always wanting something. Well, yeah, and we actually located some lion's head bunnies in our area. We're going to go see them tomorrow. And they're real lion's heads, so they're really tiny. And it'll probably be a better fit for us anyway, overall. So we're going to see how that goes, but they're pretty cute. And my granddaughter's excited about that. Sundrop says, have you performed a ritual during a storm? Ha! Okay. Now, if you want to hear about me performing a ritual in the storm, you need to watch the video entitled Opening a Portal to the Other Side. Because that was in the middle of a thunderstorm that I did that when I was in Texas. And the energy of the storm was tremendous. And I pierced the veil between our side and the other side and opened up a portal and helped cross over like I guess a raiding party that got killed of Native Americans that were in the area, some warriors that got stuck on the other side. And yeah, I have performed a ritual in a storm. And boy, was that one probably one of the highlights of my life, I'd say, as far as power and energy and results and everything else went.
Yeah, I haven't done much for storms. I wonder if people can hear me at all. What do you think?
I don't know. Ian wonders if people can hear him at all.
Well, I can listen. I can listen.
Yeah, I guess you can listen to yourself, but I can repeat what you say like I do with these.
Since we have a time delay.
Yeah. Sandcat says, oh, sweet. Bunnies are adorable. Kara says, aw, Bunny's cute. Beth says, Sandcat kisses. Kara says, oh, wow. Beth says, I have before raising the energy. Awesome. Sundrop says, interesting. LK says, can you talk more about the notion that when a human works with a spirit deity, that they will accrue a debt which needs to be paid back to the spirit after the human had died? How does that work? Okay, some says that they can hear you a little bit.
Yes, I see that.
Okay, so the thing is that whenever you're doing any kind of energy work, regardless, you have to pay something forward or in the energy that you're using. Usually the debt you accrue, you pay when you're doing the work. You don't necessarily accrue a large debt. It's like the energy you put into designing a ritual, to making the incense, to setting up the altar, to getting in the right frame of mind, to raising the energy for the spirit to use when it comes, and that kind of thing. And there's a lot of spirits that you can work with that will just be willing to work with you and not worry about if there's an even Steven kind of energy exchange between the two of you. And it's just sort of like what they like to do. They like to help. The kind of thing that happens if you're going to accrue a debt that can cause you problems after you're dead is usually with spirits that you are asking to do something that will require them to expend a huge amount of energy on your behalf, and you're not supplying them with the energy. They're having to use their own energy. And so,
right, that's the difference. If you supply it, it's not a big deal.
yes. So you just be careful what you do. With me, the way I work with spirit is basically when I ask for a favor or something like that, I do it in such a way that if you think that this is okay and you're wanting to do this, then that would be great. I would really appreciate it. And then when I have a chance to help any other kinds of spirits and I'm in the right frame of mind to do it, then I help them. It's sort of like not a tit for tat, but it's sort of overall, my positive energy is not a deficit of any kind. I mean, I put the energy back into the universe, and so I'm kind of like more of a friendship, community relationship that I have with the spirits that I work with. And so a lot of it depends upon how you work with spirits too. So if you're like a demanding kind of individual and you're telling them what to do, and it's like you're going to do this or else kind of thing, then you're going to have some problems. It's going to accrue later down the road. And the debt that you accrue if you do that can mean that if there's enough of it, like if you've really gone overboard and just really, gone gung-ho with this whole idea, you have to serve them in their sphere for a period of time in order to pay back the energy that they use to help you. And the problem with that is if it's long enough a period of time, you can forget that you were ever human and just become a part of their sphere. And then, that doesn't seem like a good idea to me, but, that's our understanding of it at any rate. Sandcat says, I need to raise some energy for myself. I'll watch some of your videos. Good. Gaga says, I hear graveyard dirt is more powerful. Is that true?
Well, I use it in hoodoo and voodoo, but I don't know what I think of that myself.
I think it depends on what you're doing and what your own personal um, energetic attachment is to things and your definition of stuff. Is like, I don't think that graveyard dirt is any more powerful than any other kind of dirt, except for the attachment of energy that we put to it and the purpose we're using it for, and our internal narrative belief systems that we're working with. It sort of accesses different kinds of energy that way.
And it might have to do with the beings they work with also when they use the graveyard dirt and stuff. I know that there are some that work with that, and there are some graveyard entities and things, and the graveyard dirt thing may relate to that. I kind of suspect the particular beings and entities, and if you don't, it probably wouldn't make any difference, if you're not working with them in particular.
Well, right. It's something that they like,
yeah,
and that they want, and it's something that helps to attract
just
them
a
or
guess,
energize
though, because
them.
I'm not too much up on the voodoo and hoodoo stuff.
Right. And so Beth says, always pay the debt then, so there's no misinterpretation. That's pretty advanced.
Yeah.
Sundrup says, I don't understand. How does someone not know they're dead, roaming around? Oh, there are so many ways that people can not know they're dead. I mean, the ones that I have met, some of them know they're dead, but just refuse to accept it, which is a whole thing in and of itself. But some of them are just like, they died so quickly, they were unconscious, they became unconscious when it happened, and then they didn't notice. Or, yeah, that was a woman who died in a fire. She actually died of smoke inhalation, and she was stuck in that moment and wasn't aware of anything around her. Yeah, it can happen. Every so often when weird things are going on, I think, am I dead and just don't know it? Looking around going like, I don't know. It's a possibility. Beth says, the law of reciprocity. Yep. Some dude says, I have a question. How do we use the earth element to pull down a 4D item or object into our 3D reality? I don't know.
Well, if, it takes the skills to do it, but you can materialize down an idea or an object or something with the earth element, but you have to practice with the earth element enough to be able to do it and to materialize it down. It just takes a lot of, go through Barton's first book, you'll be able to do it.
Okay. Okay, says, thank you. Which book by Franz Barton lists spirits and explains what they require as debt payment? That would be the Magical Evocation?
Yes, I couldn't think of the name of it.
Yeah, Magical Evocation is his second book. It's wonderful. I love it. It's got all the spirit seals and everything in it, and it gives a list of describes their, what they do, not just their name, but their purpose and so forth, and whether or not they're willing to work just because they like magicians or whoever. And yeah, it gives you a really good notion, and you can really fine tune your needs that way, because you can look for like the spirit that works with this one thing in which sphere and so forth. And yeah, it's my favorite. It's good resource material.
Yes, it is.
Beth says, I'm leaving graveyard dirt alone just out of respect. Yeah, it's also against the law, I think, to sneak onto a graveyard and dig up some dirt.
I don't know. I know you can buy it. I bought it before.
Well, yeah, but they might have their own graveyards that they do, It's like just for gathering graveyard dirt or something.
Of course, you buy it over the internet. Who knows whether it's real or not, but
I don't know. It's true. Jojo says, I know you connected with Aphrodite as your deity. Can you speak a little about how you connected with her and how she supported you, please? Okay. Aphrodite was really my first deity, I think, when I was a child. I was in the 4th grade, and I'd been praying to Mary, the Virgin Mary, even though I wasn't raised Catholic, for years, and I never knew exactly why. It was just like, I knew the prayers to Mary, and Mary has some definite associations with Aphrodite, I think. And in the 4th grade, they started teaching us mythology. And when I started learning about Greek mythology, I was very excited because it sort of blew my mind. It sort of opened up a gateway in my head that basically the idea that we had believed different things in the past clearly meant that then we could believe different things in the future. And so what we currently believed didn't have to be the thing we stayed with. That was kind of the epiphany that I got. And I was very attracted to Aphrodite. She was just sort of a draw to me. So I named my doll. It wasn't a Barbie, but that kind of size of a doll. It was a more normal shaped doll. But I named her Aphrodite and played with her that way whenever I played dolls with my sister. And then later down the road, I found my first real goddess statue was a statue of Aphrodite that I found in a shop. I still have that one. And I've had that one for like 40 years, I think, at this point. I've had that statue. And I connect with the rose and the whole just the energy of Aphrodite was something I needed and connected with at the time, not being in a very healthy home environment, not any real love or caring or whatever that I could identify or count on at the time. And when I was getting ready to change careers, going from being a legal secretary, typist kind of person to a massage therapist and a healer, one of the things that happened was Aphrodite came in to let me know that this was a good thing and that I was going to get the job I needed to be able to go to school. So I had to have a full-time or part-time job with flexible hours, with full-time benefits for the health care and stuff like that for my children, and to be able to travel because the school I went to was 75 miles away and I went there 3 times a week. And she sent me all the roses. She had strangers come up to me and just hand me a rose, like before I went to go take the test to see if I could, get an interview. And then when I went to the interview with the group of people, someone else came and gave me a rose before that, as I was getting ready to get on the bus to go to it. And then the third interview, I brought a rose with me because by then it had become a thing. And then I kept a rose on my desk the whole time I worked there in honor of Aphrodite. And when Ian and I got married, we did it on the Festival of the Rose, which is sacred to Aphrodite and Ishtar and other love goddesses and so forth. And so she was definitely my first real experience, not my last. So Gaga says, is that why people have cults to pull all of their energy into one intent? Well, they have cults so that they can get what they want and be horrific people and abuse lots of others and feel like they're going to get away with it. Yeah. And they've got egos that apparently are really limited in their imagination. LK says, awesome, thanks. About the book, Beth says, Isis was my first. She's tattooed in the small of my back. She came to me as a child. Yeah, Isis is definitely one of mine as well. When I remembered my life in Egypt, I was a priestess to Isis. I also was a priestess to Aphrodite in Greece, and I remembered that life as well. And so there's like these connections between these deities. One of the reasons why I'm eclectic, I think, is because I remember having different experiences with different gods and goddesses in the old time. But yeah, it's just sort of an interesting thing. But I work with a lot of them now, and right now Aurora is kind of my personal goddess. She's sort of become my personal goddess. Beth says, cults do dark even if they take on the image of light. Well, they always try to take on the image of light, and they always do terrible, dark things, yeah. Anything that tries to subsume the free will of other people and looks for broken people that they can take advantage of, by definition, is my definition of evil. It's like purposely causing harm to others. That would be it. And enjoying it in the process. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the it can change for a while, when I was in a coven, we took on goddess names, and I took on Ishtar for a while. You can sort of like adopt a deity name and call yourself that in order to connect with their energy, through the power of naming and stuff like that. And we all did it. Everybody in the coven picked a different deity name, and so we did that for a while as an exercise of connecting and that kind of thing. So for a while I was known as Lady Ishtar, apparently. It's funny.
So I texted Ashley and let her know that we're inside the house. We're gonna have our phone talk.
Okay.
Not that she'd call us.
Good, because we don't, yeah, she'll wonder where we are and what we're doing. She does like to call. LK says, have you worked with dark spirits such as Lilith or Belial? Well, see, now there is a definition of what's dark and what's not. I work with Kali, and a lot of people would consider Kali dark. I've worked with other dark goddesses. It's not, dark doesn't necessarily equate with evil or bad or negative. It can equate with powerful. Sometimes a lot of people are scared of them because they don't understand it, because there's a lot of energy and stuff there. And life is about both destruction and, life. It's like without death, life can't exist. It's just sort of like the whole thing. It's like it makes room for that. And to be able to accept the dark goddesses as just a part of reality without that kind of an attachment frees you up to be able to actually work with that energy and not be afraid of that part of yourself. I mean, usually people are afraid of them because there's a part inside of them that they're worried about is going to like come up and like take over and so forth. And I kind of went through that a little bit for a while. Juanita says, good evening, everyone. Hi, Juanita. Welcome. That says, I've worked with them in a way, giving them eviction notices. Sandcat says, hi, Juanita. Some dude says, I have a question. Do you have any tips or tricks on using a Vajra to project chi? So Vajra is not a term I'm familiar with.
It's the Vajra and the bell, the thunderbolt, the Tibetan. I have one. But I don't know. We don't know much of the use of them. They're an energy storage device.
Just like any other kind of magical device.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics though.
There are going to be culturally specific things that you do with them that would work with them
that's
better.
One of the things I wanted to delve into, but I never really researched enough to learn much about.
But in a general sense, anything you use your imagination and your focus and concentration to visualize what you're doing and to connect with the item. First, you have to obviously charge it up and have it there, and then you visualize using it just like a wand, I would assume.
Yeah, well, they act like what you would call what your term would be a Vril sign,
right?
Thing. So
right,
fill it up and then that kind of thing.
And a wand kind of works similar in that you're absorbing energy and storing energy, or any of the tools.
Yeah,
really.
In that case, with those tools, usually there's a Vajra and a bell, with the bell being the female and the Vajra being the male.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know what that thing looks like. That's that weird pointy looking thing with the sides on it.
Yeah.
Okay. One of those movies we saw. Gaga says, can you use angels to get rid of any bad karma or curses or any negative energy attached to you? Well, it depends on the angel, because some of them are not nice. And so I don't know. I don't work with angels that way. And any bad karma or curses you have, you can work through yourself without any outside intervention by being a nice person and changing who you are and how you act and how you behave in the world. It'll take care of itself. So if you're worried about that, be kind. Without expectation of something in return.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a
Vajra.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was the... Okay. What's the dagger part called?
Well, that's a furba. That's something
Ah,
entirely different. That's,
okay. I got the wrong image in my head. Thank you for showing it to me. So that's what that is.
Yep.
Okay. We'll let you have that back. Beth says, but I was tormented daily as a child, so I was used to them. When puberty hit, I screamed and told them no more, throwing my energy on them, and they left. Yeah, you don't have to accept anybody or anything's energy into your space if you don't want to. So good for taking the, creating the boundary. Now, Julia says, Hecate has a lot of names, or rather epithets, that you can take on to ignore with her various aspects. Juanita says, I've been too busy to make the lives for a long while. What's new? Did I miss anything important? Any juicy gossip? You missed everything. We talked about the secrets of the universe and how you can become enlightened in 5 seconds or less. So there you go. Too bad. Too late. Sundrop says, oops, I'm sorry if I reported or blocked someone. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. I guess we'll find out. Oops. Beth says, Julia, most definitely. Sandcat says, I have worked with Hecate. I know it sounds strange, but I was called by Hecate. It took me a while to realize what was happening. Yes, there's a lot of people that end up being called by her. And I understand that she's pretty interesting to work with. Kali's pretty interesting too. And when there was that time that some people were having trouble sleeping in this room in the house because this man had been in there meditating, trying to get rid of the female energy in him, like really hard. And he created this amazing, huge, dark goddess form that was just filled up the space. And she was really righteously angry with this guy for trying to get rid of her. And they asked me to come over and see if I could help. And I walked in and started meditating, and it was immediately obvious what was going on and what had happened. And all I had to do to take care of the problem was to accept her for what she was and acknowledge her existence and the beauty of that. And then everything was fine and people could sleep in there again. So it is interesting. Juanita says, well, shucks. Missed out on that enlightenment thing. Sandcat says, I didn't even know who Hecate was at the time. Yeah, it is interesting when you get tagged. When a deity comes along and goes like, I like you. Hey, I like you. Can I have more? Huh? Come on, pay attention. So yeah, it happens. You still don't have to accept it. You can always say no. But I think that being able to, the whole point of shadow work is to be able to embrace those different aspects of ourselves and turn them into assets instead of, issues and problems. And yeah, there's power in there for sure.
no, just power.
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. Sandcat says, I have had the big dark cloud embrace me. It was the most comforting thing that ever happened to me. Gaga says, oh, I just heard how Archangel Michael could get rid of curses, so I had to ask. Well, I don't know, since I don't work with them. So I'm not really the resource for that information. You don't have to take my word for it. I mean, maybe it works for some people. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say if you want to investigate that, probably go into some of the Kabbalistic aspects and the Western
Hermetics,
the Kabbalah and Golden Dawn stuff. They worked with the archangels a lot. You dig up it wouldn't be too tough to just come up with a nice invocation of Archangel Michael and try to go that route, entreaty by invocation.
But frankly, I think that you do yourself a better service by changing yourself and your energy and getting rid of it yourself instead of asking for divine intervention. Because then you become a powerful individual in your own right. That's just my take. Beth says, I can do some powerful magic, but can't work a phone. Yeah. Julia says, I have got to get a new keyboard set up on this phone. It's set up for thumb types, not me. Some dude says, I have a question. How can I direct the word of Sophia? The sword, excuse me, not the word. The Sword of Sophia. Wisdom. She's a goddess of wisdom. I don't know. Do some research and find out.
I don't know. I see it in a game, but
Yeah.
game aspect. Sword of Sophia, Fighter Queen Saga Book 5.
I'm hoping this is not about a video
by
game.
John Bowers. There's an Italian wood carving.
Yep. So
I
you're
don't
on your
know,
own.
I can't find anything but fictional reference to it.
Some dude is laughing.
Just off the top of my head.
And Beth says, "Ah, the storm is intense."
Here's a Saint Sophia Rome. Okay, this looks like something about it. Just out of curiosity. Oh, just pretended to be, sorry, it was only a clickbait thing.
Oh, clickbait. I hate that kind of stuff. So Beth says, "Ah, the storm is intense. I have the windows open. Feels so good." Ian, are you better? Been sending you healing vibes. He is a little bit better, but his arm is still hurting. We have our appointments have been set up for both his new doctor and the orthopedic doctor. And they did give him some medication to try and help in the meantime. So
It goes $90 for a Saint Sophia with sword and painted maple. So apparently it is a thing.
So you can buy a statue of Sophia.
Yeah. Entirely made in Italy.
Ooh.
Elegant and high quality product. So yeah, so apparently something you can't find out much about easily though, other than it sounds like it's a deal. So sorry, I guess we can't help with everything.
I know. Ian does think that I am the font of all knowledge, and he asks me some of the most bizarre questions, and often I know them, which is weird. But I don't know absolutely everything under the sun, so there you go.
And thank you, Beth, by the way, for the healing vibes.
Juanita says, "I don't think that any deity will help you with fixing karma. I think that is a path you have to fix yourself. You do the damage yourself, you have to mend it yourself." Yeah, I'm in agreement with Juanita.
That's true, but you can get advice on how to go about doing that from the beings and deities, especially I'd consult one of Barden's beings about how to do it, one of the ones he lists specifically relating to that. That's
Well,
how
you
I
know,
feel about it.
doing the work takes time. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, but it's worth it. I mean, this is the path that you're trying to create by being alive. So,
Of course, contacting one of Barden's beings implies that you have the ability to do so, and the clairvoyance to know, to be able to hear what you're being told.
which is why the personal work is so important.
Yep.
There are no actual shortcuts. I'm sorry to tell you that. Really, you just have to do the work yourself. That's the way it is. Gaga says, "How do trees sound when they talk to you? Is it speaking English or what?"
We can both answer that. Oh, well, okay. It's sort of a knowing that appears in you that comes from the tree, and one of the ways you can tell, at least for me, I've gotten information that I haven't known before, and I've looked it up. Like when a pine tree told me to use pine needles to take care of my seasonal affective disorder, pine needle oil and stuff. So for me, it comes as sort of a feeling knowledge, and I feel and know where it came from. And then some part of me might turn it into words, but it comes not directly as words, but it is the same as words. Does that make sense?
It's like a complete thought that then you interpret.
Yeah, exactly. And once when I had a very advanced spirit being talk to me, the advanced spirit being said like one sentence to me, but it conveyed as much as paragraphs worth of information with the one sentence because all the knowledge came along with it. So it's kind of like a clairvoyant knowing almost. That's just my particular take on that.
Yeah, and with me, it's not words either. It's like images and understanding. Like when I'm asking a tree what's up ahead, they show me a visual. Like when I was when I ended up doing the healing for that ley line out in Big Sur, and was having trouble walking because of the energy of the power spot that we were heading towards, and it's also conflicted power spot. And I put my hand on the tree and said, you know, what's going on, what's up ahead, and it showed me a visual of this very large boulder with all this dark energy in it up ahead. And where I was, there were no large stones of any kind. Everything was just forest. So it was kind of interesting. And then I went up around the corner and saw exactly what it was the tree showed me. So
Yeah, and it's Barton calls it the metaphorical language, and what happens is it turns into, if a lot of people may hear in words, and it's because it turns into the language that you speak. So in that sense, the communication is beyond language. If you speak a certain language, it doesn't matter. A tree or something can still communicate with you. And then if you hear it in words, it's because some part of you turns it into the language you speak, which does happen.
yeah, and I imagine that it's a little bit different for everybody, depending.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Astra says hi. Hi, Astra. Sandcat says, reminds me of The Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. Wisha, wisha, wisha. Juanita says, yes, you can ask for advice or tools on how to become a better version of yourself, or ask what tools, methods you can use to aid in fixing the issues that is contributing to the karma. Yep. Beth says, as I age into this crone stage, all the clairs are off the hook. I'm working through it. Yeah, I know. Me too. It's like, woo! Something just sort of like let go. Some dude says, in my comprehension, we can perceive only the 7 bands of the white light spectrum to be able to bleed the edges and comprehend information from a different stream of consciousness. It takes a translation. It depends on how well acquainted you are with your clair abilities, because I see in different spectrums of energy, and you can actually train yourself to be able to do that. You might translate it into something you're familiar with, but you are actually, when I see spirits moving through the air and, moving the air around me or whatever, no one else is going to see them unless they're in the same state that I'm in. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. So you can actually acquire that ability. I did a thing on divination and a video about divination techniques and so forth, learning how to scry, and those are part of the abilities that you can open up. You use those to help open up those senses. And it's difficult to describe because it's kind of like learning how to see color for the first time, and a color you didn't know existed. So yeah. Beth says, I need a glass of wine. Well, here's an imaginary glass for you. Grumpy Al says, I had a tree by the homeless shelter communicate with me. I said hello, and it felt like I had some energy come up through the ground and grab my foot. Not grab my foot literally, but it was interesting. I'm thinking its roots reached out, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's probably trying to help give you energy and help ground you at the same time. Because that's where, the communication through trees in life on a physical plane happens through the root system and through the mycelium that goes from tree to tree. That's how they communicate, is through the ground itself. So that would make perfect sense to me. Astor says, my energy is a little out of control. I'm in my 30s. Me and my neighbor play with fairies, and we interact with UFOs and film them at night. Cool. Beth says, Siofra, it's like you're turbocharged and everyone wants help. I always want to help. Gat says, bless your kind soul. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Astor says, I got some cool videos of UFOs and orbs from last night, but most of the time I don't film. But we named the orbs. Beth says, Grumpy Al, have you heard them sing yet? I'm thinking the trees. And actually, that's an experience. The term that was used was like the music of the spheres, and I've heard it a couple of times, and it's kind of incredible. Not just the trees, but like the universe. It's like it has a song that every so often, if you're in the right state, you can tap into. You got to be really open and non-judgmental and not interfere with what's going on. It's sort of a very passive state of acceptance to get to the point where you can hear it, and then it doesn't last too long, otherwise you probably just go crazy. I don't know. Beth says, yes, the trees, it's awe-inspiring. Yeah. And the fairy that visited me last night, I mean, it's always fascinating when they come to visit because the smell that this one brings is just so overpowering and overwhelming. It's just like there. So Grumpy Owl says, I'm not sure if I have. Well, you might soon. Gaga says, who's better, Franz or Crowley, knowledge-wise?
No, no contest. Barden by like 100,000%. I mean,
Absolutely.
like hugely. Crowley was, um, well, I studied Crowley for years and years, so that says something about him. He's you know,
prolific,
very serious, and um, it is a valid system, but Barden's just leaves it in the dust, in my opinion.
Beth says, oh, Astra says, when I listened to mantras, I was seeing orbs of all colors in place, and the next day I saw a purple light. Beth says, fairies are beefy sometimes. And Astra says, what does it mean if you're seeing deep purple lights? Purple is the color of Akasha, the spirit realm. So it's a higher vibrational frequency, like UV kind of thing. And it means that your clairvoyant vision is opening up. And that's what I see a lot of the time, is that purple light. Beth says, I agree, Ian. Astra says, Beth beefy, haha. Violet says, that was very cool to hear about Crowley and Barden and the dust. Yay. Astra says, oh wow, yeah, I was tripping after seeing that purple. Yeah, and that's the thing, is getting used to being able to see things that on some level you believe can't be there. That's what we were talking about earlier, is that ability to see into different energies. That's exactly what that is. And, you know, I often see silver sparks and sometimes black sparks and purple light and gray, like popcornish looking stuff when my sight starts, the extra sensory sight starts kicking in. You know, it's a matter of the way the brain works is like you train the brain to pay attention to the input that you decided is valid input. And so when you're young, you don't have any criteria because you don't know what's going on. And so you tend to see more and see in different dimensions and stuff like that. And then the people around you start to tell you that no, there's nothing standing over there by the tree. It's empty. There's nothing there. And then you start to you start to absorb that, and your brain dismisses that piece of information. So it's no longer there. And when you get older and you want to get back to that, it's a matter of retraining the brain and letting go of the idea that that stuff isn't real, to allow yourself to try and see things as they actually are so that you can regain the input. And it takes time. There's no doubt about it. Some people are naturally gifted, obviously, and they have more of that, you know, natural inclination to start with. But all of us go through that phase where we kind of shut down and block stuff out and try and deal with, you know, real world reality, etc. Unless we're in an institution. But and then making that conscious efforts to like allow that back in. Beth says Astra. Ha. Sarah says I see blue orbs also. Juanita says I've never been able to perceive any fairies as of yet. Hope I can someday, granted it to be a positive experience. Well, I've always been positive for me. Astra says, then the fairies or angels look like pools of white golden light, pools of light. This whole universe is a pool of light. Well, yeah, the energy of life itself is a silver white light with golden sparks in it. That's how I see it. And that is the energy of life existence. One of the reasons why I use that image in the sacred tree meditation that I put out, so you can pull that in and connect with that universal life force. It's sort of like it helps you connect with the universal mind, the universe itself, or whatever, however you want to look at that. Beth says, Juanita, you will, and it will happen when you least expect it. Yeah. Surprise! Peeking out from behind a tree. Guess what? I came into your house by accident. Esther says, beautiful but shocking, and balls of light coming out of the walls. Then I got scared. So baby steps. Yeah. Yeah. You have to make sure you can stay grounded as well as you can throughout it. Esther says, this is beautiful. Such a blessing. Cool. I mean, our perceptions of reality are very much based on our beliefs, and what reality is and how we experience it is colored by that. So we have a certain measure of control. We just don't always know that we do or recognize it.
Well, a lot of times we don't even realize that that we have beliefs can be so hidden and subconscious that we can not even know they're there.
Okay, Gaga says, could I train my right eye to see everything spiritual and nothing physical and keep my left eye vision normal? I don't know.
Actually,
maybe.
Well, that's Barton actually recommends in some cases doing that if you're going to be using your, in some aspects, if you use the mental vision too much, Barton says it can weaken your physical eyesight. And if you're doing that like an extreme amount, he recommends a person can just enliven one eye, but personally he recommends doing both and says he thinks that's better. It's better that you have, rather than have one eye enlivened like all the time, it's better that you follow this method. You have control over your clairvoyance, so you can turn it on or off at will. You can enliven both your eyes, and he uses the light energy for that as part of that. So he recommends using both your eyes, but also mentions that it's valid to do just one eye if that's your approach you want to take. But he recommends doing it with both and then attaining the ability to turn it on or off at will.
And I think being able to control it and turn it on and off at will is really vitally important. Because when you're driving a car and there are ghosts walking in front of your car, you need to be able to tell the difference between them being spirits or not see them, so you don't try to swerve, which I did once.
That is the thing, though.
It is.
I mean, the one eye thing. That is a thing that some people do and recommend.
Violet says, hoot. Juanita says, I doubt they'll come inside. My 6-year-old always has the house a mess. I have a feeling they hang out on the porch where I have my strawberries, tomatoes, and flowers growing. Well, if messes were the only thing that kept them out, I would not have them in my house. So I can tell you from my own experience that it's not as important to them as it is to us.
A fun one for, since if Siofra doesn't get mad at me for Gaga Gecko there, Barton also mentions the possibility of separating out an astral eyeball and sending it someplace to spy on something, or separating out your astral ears so you can hear at a distance, things like that, which also are an interesting idea.
Actually, I had that one happen spontaneously, the astral ear. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, actually. When I was up in Canada pregnant with my daughter, there was this crazy guy who was coming to our house. He had found us by following the angels and found the angels over my house and thought my daughter was the signal for Jesus to come in his spaceships and activate the bubonic plague and all milk products to kill the unfaithful who didn't know, which I was offended by. And he wanted to tell, I had decided I didn't want him around anymore. And he came over to my house again. And my husband at the time went outside to talk to him. And I listened to everything they said. I heard the entire conversation. And I was inside the house and they were outside the house, like pretty far away. And my husband came in and I told him everything the guy said. And I says, this man cannot come near me. He can't go to the hospital. I don't want him anywhere near my daughter or anything else. He actually stalked my neighbor for a while to try and find out when I gave birth. And I don't know what he decided when Jesus and his spaceships didn't come and activate the bubonic plague, because, my daughter's now almost 50, I think. Is it this year? Nope, 49. Anyway, yeah, it's been a while. So, needless to say. But it was I find that a lot of times these things happen when I have a need. It's like they're not things I try to do or plan to do necessarily. If a situation arises and I need to know something and it's in vital importance, somehow I find it out. So it's like, wow. So, yeah. Let's see. Julia says, do fairies hang around hospitals, you think? Well, I'm sure they would come to visit you. Beth says, now I know why young practitioners always backed away from the crones at a large gathering. I never was, but I had crones in my life as an infant. Yeah, because, you know, we know stuff. Juanita says, we had 4 or 5 pine trees growing in the front yard that were very old, and our neighbor chopped them all down, and I think that made them very upset. I'm sorry. I mean, sometimes that happens. Astra says, I saw a dimension that was crystalline pink and purple blues. Seemed like an angelic dimension.
Cool.
Awesome. Malik says, hello, how are you? I see so much, but I have been in and out of mental institutions my whole life due to me not being able to deal with all of this. Any advice? I am currently a psychic medium. Yes, what we're talking about is learning how to control your abilities. So grounding exercises, learning how to tune things out, be in charge of what's going on. We've got a lot of videos out there on that. The tree meditation video is good to help teach you how to have boundaries, and having boundaries is kind of a vital importance, as well as grounding and shielding, so that you can decide when you want to be on and when you don't want to be on, because you need to be able to take care of yourself and function in society. Whenever I've been in therapy, I've always told my therapist about all my stuff, but no one ever suggested I go into a hospital, because it's clear I know the difference between physical reality, things that are happening around me, and then the spirit stuff that I encounter. And so that balance is important. When all of your development and energy is up into your upper chakras, and none of it is down into your physical chakras down below, that's when you start to have that imbalance and that difficulty. So if you start to do that, you might notice that your abilities seem to weaken or diminish, but that's a temporary side effect, because if you need to learn control, that has to happen. And when you learn control, then when the abilities come back, you'll be able to use them even better than you can now. That's what I think. Beth says, I just love the fairies on our property with all my heart. And they love me. Asher says, oh Lord, bubonic plague. Yep. Julia says, wow. Thank you, Siofra. Sundrop says, do you think when we dream we're in another dimension at the time? Well, yeah, we're in the mental and astral sphere when we're dreaming, because that's where dreams happen, and that's the reason why spirits can visit us in our dreams. From different dimensions.
If you want it in Barden's terms, you can consider either the astral plane or call it the zone girdling the earth.
Yeah.
And you could, if a person is good at it, they could go to the realm of dreams while they're awake if they wanted to, and see what other people are dreaming and things, but not much point in that.
Beth says, Juanita, our past neighbor lady did that. Siofra knows the story. They screamed, so did I. All hell came down on that woman, not by me. I don't do dark. Master says, I have a dissociative disorder, and the counselor said spirits love people with them disorders because we can enter states easily. So I had to get very grounded fast. Well, and there's physical things that can affect that ability too. I've noted when I go into, which I haven't done in a long time, when I go into a bar where people are consuming a lot of alcohol, I can actually see earthbound spirits attaching themselves to people who are inebriated because their defenses are down and they're easy prey and they can feed off of them. So yeah, if you're very sensitive, you really have to be careful what you do with yourself and how you treat your body. My brain is really sensitive to anything I put in it, food, herbs, whatever. And so I'm very alert to things that alter my brain chemistry in a negative way that give me less control. And like we've talked before, when I'm sick, I often have less control over my abilities, which is why I have some backup stuff, like Ian charged up this garnet for me that sort of blocks everything. It blocks everybody, the fairies and, personal spirits and whoever. It's like in thought forms from other people, because I'm much more vulnerable to how people are thinking and thinking at me and so forth, and that helps. So you have to have strategies that you can use to take care of things. And if you're getting too far out there, getting outside, sitting on the ground, talking to a tree, leaning against a tree, laying on the ground, walking barefoot, connecting to the earth sphere, you know, that can help by quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Juanita says at Sundrop, I think sometimes we are. I think we have the ability to astral project to different dimensions, though I don't think it's every single time we dream. Astra said, after my awakening. Yes, got grounded very fast. And you have to keep working on it. It's kind of like taking a bath or a shower once a week or twice a week or whatever it is. You take care of your body, you got to take care of your mind, and take care of your spirit too. Apparently I drive myself out by talking. Interesting question. Sandcat says, I have dreams that seem so real, I'm starting to think I'm entering someone else's life. How can I work on finding out if my dreams are mine or someone else's? Good question. Try to pay attention, I guess. Because it could be that, or it could be a past life or something like that.
Yeah.
I went through a stage once where I was seeing things happen to people I didn't know, witnessing assaults and things like that in other cities, which drove me crazy for a while. Made me feel very sort of helpless and like, why? But it didn't last for too long. Grumpy Owl says the Fae seem to like hanging out at old folks' homes. I hear stories online, and my mom works as a healthcare aide at one and has told me about experiences of hers and her coworkers. That could be cool. I worked at one for a while, and I could always tell when I went into work if someone had passed. Actually, usually could tell before I left if someone was going to, because of seeing their family from the other side coming to help. That was one way, anyway. Sundrop says, okay, Juanita, thanks. Carla says, hi, are you still in contact with the she? Are there any experiences you would like to share? Well, the one that visited me last night just likes to come in and smell wonderful. Wasn't any specific message, though. They just like to check in every so often and see where I'm at, what I'm doing. It's kind of like, there's like a tribe of bears, and then there's a herd of elk, and then there's like a hive of bees. It's kind of like, part of the landscape, part of my environment, and so forth. I'm part of theirs. They like the fact that I can see them. Haven't had any specific things lately, except for the one last night that just smelled absolutely fantastic. I love that smell. I'd like to bottle that. Beth says, Grumpy Owl, they're here to help. They're there to help. Yeah, I'm sure they are. Astra says, I would not want to know what people are dreaming about. Well, I've had shared dreams with my children, both of my children actually, and with my ex-husband at one point. So it's possible to actually be in someone else's dream. And sometimes you can like find yourself in someone else's dream. I think you had that happen with one of your former
Yeah, I
friends.
managed to do it on purpose one time, but then it wasn't very useful because I just for an experiment, I was working on trying to get into somebody else's dreams and visit them, and when I finally did, they were in the dream. It was almost like a movie that was set up where things couldn't be changed and it was just the way it was and that was happening, and I couldn't talk to the person, they couldn't recognize me, they were just like doing their thing like a preordained film type of thing, and there was I should have thought of that ahead of time, but when they're asleep, of course, you're not going to hold a conversation with somebody normally. So it was very boring, and I could just observe the person in the dream. They're going around in a skating rink, and it was just like, it was like I was having almost no impact on them and the surroundings and things. They were just, in their dream thing. So
When I had the shared dream with my daughter, I did it on purpose because I was trying to find out what she was dreaming about because she couldn't remember. And she was dreaming about bears, her power animal. And so that was very useful as a parent and a mother to be able to go in and see what was going on and then deal with it when she was awake. And it helped her a lot, stop the nightmares. Gaga says, I always have dreams that I'm running from monsters or people most of the time. And in cultures where dreams are important, one of the things they say about those kind of dreams is if you can turn the dream around and face the monster, then you can turn it into an ally and it becomes a part of your power. And then you don't have it as a negative dream anymore. That's for certain kinds of monsters, I guess. Asher says, yep, I don't drink, and I started swimming and dancing to help me ground. Good idea. Gus says, never eat a heavy meal before bedtime. Asher says, I need to charge up something. Do you have a video on how to charge up a stone? Yes, I'm sure I do. It's probably called How to Charge Up Something. I'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure if you go to the community page and you just type in a search with the charging, you put in the key phrase charging stones or something like that, it'll probably pop up in a list. It's really got a pretty good search feature on YouTube on our page because I use it myself to find videos that people want to look at. Sadden Cat says, my dreams are normally mundane and just day-to-day life. Sometimes a bit frightening, but always about people I know. I don't know. Beth says, Astra, I would be antisocial personality to Western medicine. It's tough going out when you can read and hear everyone in public. Ugh, yeah. Learning how to dampen that out so you don't have to read other people's thoughts. I remember reading the X-Men and Jean Grey, the telepath, talking about not wanting to have to hear in everybody's voices and stuff like that. And I was having that problem at the time, so I related. And then some other books I read talking about learning how to control the abilities and to blank them out. And then thinking about it as being an intrusive thing for me to know what other people are thinking. So I work consciously on not reading other people's minds unless it is something that is dangerous to me personally, some kind of a threat. I will let people have their own thoughts and not pay attention. But yeah, it can be kind of exhausting. Asher says, I have faith that's taps at much window for attention at night, and sometimes that one is in my room chirping. They actually sound like a bird. Violet says, I really do love the time you share with us. I learned such an incredible amount. Thank you both. I'm just saying it before 3:30. 13 more minutes to go.
well, thank you, Violet.
We are glad that you're back. Asher says, I can see its little sparkle for him. I have a fan. That says, but I have been a dance teacher, yoga, meditation teacher. I'm an introvert and an extrovert. Yeah, same here. And I think that a lot of introverts are actually extroverted at different times. It depends on who you're with. Some people I can be very extroverted with and not have a problem. Depends on how they're thinking. Ian is harassing the cat. Juanita said, since we all here see interested in the Fae folk, I have a book recommendation. They're called Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And the second book is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. They are the most accurate descriptions I found in books about the Fae, and they are very entertaining. I'm ADHD, finished the audiobook in a couple of days. Thank you. Beth says, ooh, I love when they smell amazing. Beth says, yeah, are you going to jump over here? Here comes a cat. Come on, you can do it. There you go.
My fault. I put some treats up there so people could see him.
Yep, there's our cat, Bugsy. Astra says, Beth, yeah, I do have some telepathy, but thankfully it's not constant. I'm more concerned with controlling my own thoughts. Gaga says, could thought help me build $10,000 technology? I have no idea. Could that help you build? I know. Beth says, cotton candy. Oh, she's in the backyard. Juanita says, oh, I did that one. Sandcat says, I'm always myself in my dreams, but interacting with other people, I'm watching the lives of others. It's so real. Well, learn, I guess. Beth says, Astra, you have got this. I promise in time you won't think anything about it. Beth says, Siofra has an entire encyclopedia on everything on YouTube. So does Ian. Thank you. I tried. DK says, Merry Meat, glad to catch alive. When you need to get herbs for a specific ritual, how do you figure out which herb for a particular purpose? Good question. Because, research. I mean, that's what I do. I do research.
Well, and also knowing the properties of like the elements, if something's watery or earthy, if it's like a root, it's earthy and things like that. So
you're going to sit on my lap,
attributions and things. Is that bad? Should I have not?
No, that's okay. Okay. I'm just going to have a cat. No one will be able to see him because he's below the camera view, but hey.
Yeah, you might look, and there's also planetary attributions to the herbs and things. And if you need something to work with, I don't know, say you're trying to do something that has to do with clairvoyance, so you might want lunar, so you might, look for lunar herbs or something that's watery like a willow, that type of thing. So it kind of takes a combination of research and intuition and observing the characters of what the different herbs and things are, if that's any help.
Well, yeah. I mean, you figure out what it is you're trying to do and then what kind of attributes you need, and then you start researching the herbs to figure out which herbs are the best suited to the purpose. And like a lot of times, some of the names of herbs and spells and stuff like that in the old grimoires, etc., sound like really strange, but they were the names for common plants that they used at the time.
Well, and then sometimes the names are helpful, like bone set, that's what it does. It helps with bone setting bones.
Yeah. And so, we do research like everybody else. It's like a specific situation arises and you need something special for it. You start thinking it through. Like when I'm doing a poppet for healing, depending on what kind of stuff that the person is going through, I'm going to pick different herbs or plants or crystals or whatever to put inside the poppet to try and assist them. You don't always have to make negative poppets. I like making healing poppets. So yeah,
And it depends on what kind of healing, or if you're looking for like calm, you might go with something watery, or if just the opposite, somebody like can't get moving and they need some energy,
Yeah, it's tailor-made for each individual circumstance and what they're going on. So Gaga says, if I get a statue of a deity, can I connect with it somehow? Well, that would be why you would have a statue of a deity, to think about it, to focus on it, to use it as a focal point to get into the energy of the deity you're trying to connect to.
Yeah, the Indians, as in Indians, not Native Americans, they have a method of actually bringing a statue to life, giving birth to it. I can't think of the term they call it.
No, do not sit on the computer.
But yeah, they go right ahead and enliven a statue as a being, and then the idea is then you have to treat it as if it was that living being.
We actually have a video about that subject called Enlivening a Statue, as a matter of fact, so you can watch that. So DK said, oh, Astra says, why do fairies seem to hang out with UFOs? I doubt that they're connected to each other, considering one is the Earth sphere specifically and the other is supposedly not. I think it just might be a coincidence. I must be living on a portal because me and my neighbor, both clairvoyant, attract this stuff. DK says, good answer. That'll give me a head start. Astra says, we literally go outside in the local Fae and UFOs. They look like stars, can get very close. DK says, I saw everyone was talking about shared dreams. I had one in 2007. I was in a Greek pantheon. Friend and I both holding a sword that could cut through anything, surrounded by blinding light. To this day, I've been trying to figure out what that dream meant. The sword was almost exactly like the one I found in lore called Zulfikar that had Arabic-like writing on it. Interesting. I'm glad that you guys are able to stay out of all the something drama and nonsense that goes on.
We try. Drama happens, but we try to stay clear of most of the drama.
And I also like, boundaries. Important to have them. That says cotton candy fairy flirts with the male aspects of the fairies. Yes, they're more like us than we know. Juanita says at Astra, etc. Luna. At Luna. It might be less about y'all attracting them and more just because of the fact that the veil is not there anymore, really. So you're just able to see them more now. Yeah. Astra says, we go for walks on my complex and we have an entourage of creatures. It's pretty wild. I started inviting mediums to my complex to meet the local light beings. That's cool. Beth says, the fairies were here before me, but I see them almost everywhere I go. They know I love them. Which is good. Occult drama is the worst. The occult drama. Yeah.
We had witch wars in a town called Eugene, which is somewhat near here in Oregon, that destroyed the whole community.
Well, they tried to have a witch war with us, that group up at the coast. Yeah. And we were just like, I'm sorry, we're not participating. And that's the thing, is like energy's throwing at you, you throw the energy back, then you're engaged. Energy's throwing at you and you deflect the energy and don't participate, it's got nowhere to go. Sandcat says, I wish my dreams were in cool places like the Greek pantheon. My dreams are at shops or boring places. I have wonderful dreams at shops. I find these antique stores and jewelry stores and clothing stores every so often. And I recognize some of these places. I've been there before in other dreams. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about this town. And then I'm going through and looking at outfits and antique things. And it's like awesome. I love it. Looks like we got about 7 minutes.
Okay.
Because we're not going to go by the clock. We're going to go by the time.
Started a little late.
We got started late because of all the weird stuff that was going on. Yeah. Okay. Juanita, Astra says, Juanita, I've always attracted beings. If I walk into properties, the buildings or house creaks and lights flicker sometimes. That says they cover Siofra and Ian. Yeah. Well, I've had people tell me they can see fairies flittering around my aura. So, and then I had that one healer I went to see, and I saw her a year later, and she recognized me because of what she said, all the light beings I brought with me wherever I went. She recognized them, not me. But she's, oh, I've seen you before. Astra says, so it's definitely partially me. Yep. DK says, Sandcat, yeah, when I was a teen, I had all kinds of crazy psychic stuff. Then when I went to college and got a job, it just all stopped, and I'm on a journey to get it back. We were just talking about that.
Yep.
Beth says, covet. Covet? I'm not sure why. DK says, perfect timing. My lasagna will be ready in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, all right. Sandcat says, I love lasagna.
So when Beth said they cover Siofra, they covet.
Oh, they covet. I see.
So that's what that was about. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Just clarifying.
That's what she's clarifying. That's because of her thumbs, right? Not working on the... Juanita says, at Astra, oh yes, they are definitely attracted to the light of people who can use their abilities. I'm just saying it takes much less effort to perceive them now. Much more people are starting to see. And yeah, this seems to be the case. I have definitely noticed Notice that. DK says, were you talking about getting psychic powers back on this live or somewhere else? On this live. And probably somewhere else too, but this one, definitely. We were just talking about that in the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of times what will happen is if a person starts getting their system in balance, a lot of times psychic powers will manifest actually almost like as an illness because you're out of balance. And then when you get back into balance, they'll back off, but then you start developing them and you'll get them back. But sometimes they can decrease while you get yourself back in balance if they were manifesting as a result of an imbalance, which they can do.
Julia says lasagna. Aga says, could one make a good cult to watch over people? If it's a cult, it cannot be good.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a definitional thing, but you could make a good group to watch over people, and that's what the Brethren of Light supposedly are.
Yeah, supposedly.
You know, the Hermetic Brotherhood and all that. Yeah.
DK says, okay, I will go back and check. Good. Beth says, Siofra has so many beautiful light beings around her. Yep, witches were very jealous of you and Ian. It's so negative. They have to go. Hi, thank you. Sangat says, Gaga, my feeling on cults is that someone always wants too much control. Yeah, and this is true. Free will is a very important concept for me. Juanita says, I'm about to eat sushi. Awesome. We would love to eat sushi with you.
Sushi,
we like the sushi.
I like lasagna too, but I'm lactose intolerant, so I go for the sushi.
Yeah, that's right. Asher says, my friend wants to bring me to house clearings to flush out critters. She said I stir stuff up. Good. I go to places and they run away and hide. So sometimes I can't find them. DK says, can you point me in a direction for any good court spells or job spells? Well, in the 5,000 spells book, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there. I just do some searching on the internet to find out, but anything to do with courts is probably going to be Jupiter, I would think, or Saturn, depending on what kind of court case it was.
Yeah, what type of thing? Jupiter, like, for good to, like, free it from court or something. Saturn, if you want to get somebody put in jail, I guess, something like
depending
that.
on what the court case is
Saturn
about.
can be positive. I don't want to promote the idea that Saturn is always negative, because it's not, but it can be heavy and binding.
Yes, depends on what it's for. But yeah, you know, it's like when I have something like that, I just start doing Google searches and look through my books and see what it is. So Beth says, I'm going to say goodnight and sweet dreams to everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in the sacred space Siofra and Ian's created for us. I'm thankful. Bye, Beth. I hope you get better soon. Keep on working on that. Aster says, I'm a scaredy cat. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, it's up to you. If you're going to go to places where things are skittering around, not being afraid is kind of an important part of that. So maybe it's not time yet.
Very true.
Sandcat says, yum, sushi. We eat a lot of sushi. DK says, thank your husband, by the way, for the videos he did on the Kabbalah a while back.
You're welcome.
He always likes to hear some positive feedback. Thank you very much. Beth says, be careful with your friends after they know your abilities. They want you to do everything for them for free. And if it doesn't work that way. Well, not only that, if you do it for them and then it works, then they'll never speak to you again.
Yeah, we've had a certain amount of that. Either that or it works so well it makes them sick. That's another thing.
It's like, yeah, they're like, okay, I really didn't think this was real. I was just sort of pandering to her delusion. And then, oh my God, it happened. And she is one scary witch. I'm staying away from her, never talking to her again.
Yeah, that's happened to Siofra multiple times.
Oh my goodness. It's just quite annoying. But anyway, yes. Julia says it, Beth. Sandcat says goodnight, Beth. Julia says hugs. DK says, laugh out loud. In short, I am being sued and trying to appease everyone. I hate the idea of hexing to get out of the situation. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, go with Jupiter on that. Go with Jupiter for some help.
Yeah, and you might actually want to do a sweetening jar. Look into what that is. Honey pot, right.
Yeah.
Honey pot sweetening jar. Juanita says, yes, make sure you ward and protect yourself first. That says, I finally had to call them out and tell them they were lazy witches, do their own work. Yeah, that's true too. Because when people ask me for help and I help them, and then I give them all the tools they need to be able to help themselves, but then they don't do the work and then they call me for help again. That happened with one person I was working with multiple times, and I finally said, I can't help you anymore. I've given you the tools. You need to do the work, and you need to protect yourself because, I am not like the on-call savior person. So there. All right, looks like we've hit our 1:30 hour and 30 minutes mark here. So I guess we're going to have to go. Um, DK says, I've heard it's better to wish the best for everyone, not jump to ego hexing.
That's absolutely my approach, and I usually try to find a way about it. And, if somebody's throwing something at me, I try to become invisible to the energy so that it returns to them, so I'm not taking any action and they still get hit with their own stuff, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So you're not,
Yep.
if people want to harm themselves, that's okay. I don't want to harm them. Sometimes you may have to do self-defense, but that's my preferred approach if I can.
Yep. If they're really attacking me, I just send it back at them, and it's like, sorry, karma's a bitch. That's what happens. DK says, good night, you two. Astra says, you're not scary. Beth says, I want sushi. Some dude says at DK, I'd say play to win. DK says, I'm familiar. I have the honey next to me in a cleaned out Starbucks bottle. Glad to hear that. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, guys. So I guess everybody thinks the honey pot is a good idea. And we have to go. And I'm so glad we managed to actually get this, even if I look strange and it's not our usual format. That says Ian's reading my mind. So bye, everybody.
You're all great.
Thank you for having a lovely time and asking some great questions, and we really appreciate y'all. DK says, blessed be and merry part, y'all. All right. So off we go.